So you may have seen across social media or wherever you are, your news browsers, all of these different things, the immunity verdict that came by way of the Supreme Court in light of our man, Donald J. Trump. And so we wanted to pull up an AP article that really just kind of encapsulates the ruling. It doesn't go into too much detail, so it's not like an expository read, but it just does a good once over. And then we'll look at some of the reactions because people are basically saying that Trump is now going to be king as a result of this. And there's a lot of things people are saying right now, but we just want to cover this because doing our due diligence as American citizens of this great republic. So,
and pertinent to us as entrepreneurs about
very
who
much
wins
so.
the next election.
Very much so. So this AP article reads, what to know about the Supreme Court immunity ruling in Trump's 2020 election interference case. While the Supreme Court's ruling Monday in former President Donald Trump's 2024 election interference case makes it all but certain that the Republican will not face trial in Washington ahead of the November election. The Supreme Court did not dismiss, as Trump had wanted, the indictment alleging he illegally schemed to cling to power after he lost to Joe Biden. But the ruling still amounts to a major victory for the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, whose legal strategy has focused on delaying the proceedings until after the election. It's so funny, guys, just listening to bias. Like, can't you just write it? Just write it without the bias. Trump posted in capital letters on his social media shortly after the decision was a big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American. I wish he wouldn't have said that. And democracy, huh? But I will skip down to where they talk about the opinion. The court's conservative majority said former presidents have absolute immunity from prosecution for official acts that fall within their exclusive sphere of constitutional authority and are presumptively entitled to immunity for all official acts. They do not enjoy immunity for unofficial or private actions. The ruling means that special counsel Jack Smith cannot proceed with significant allegations in the indictment or must at least defend their use in future proceedings before the trial judge. So
they're basically saying that they can't go after him for January 6th and they can't go after him for the civil 34 whatever convictions that they presented on him. And so then it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically is the one that ruled like 6-3.
Yeah, 6-3.
And so why does this matter? So previously we had part of the defense team that was here in Colorado defending Donald Trump in the ballot case where they were trying to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. That went up to the Supreme Court as well, got overturned. And so why does it happen? The reason it happens is because as soon as we open the door to say that any politician can be removed for the ballot if we don't agree with them, or we can go after them for things that they did during their tenure as president, then we open the door for fracturing the constitutional republic that we have, right? If every state could pull somebody off of the ballot that they didn't like, that's a problem. If I could just go back in time, every political litigator on the planet is going to go after former presidents and try to sue them for things that they have done.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't actually get us anywhere. And so they're at the Supreme Court, and this is also why we have three branches of the government, right? To protect against these kinds of things. You know, you hear all these crazy things like this is the end of democracy and they need to be removed. I just don't think that's true. It's just, it's actually playing out the way that it's supposed to, which is, hey, this is a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. And we're enacting what we feel is best from a legal standpoint to protect against this petty strategy.
Which would actually be anti-constitutional.
Correct.
Right? So, when we talk about being a constitutional republic, one of the things you guys have to understand about a republic, I'm going to make this very rudimentary, I think would be the appropriate word in the sense of, remedial, in the sense of a republic. At the end of the day, a republic, it essentially means governed by law, right? That's what that means. Whereas a democracy would be governed by majority positioning. So the United States is the republic, meaning that there is the country itself is governed by an ultimate source of law. In this case, that being the Constitution.
Correct.
So the Constitution in totality should, at the end of the day, should be the end all be all, the supreme law of the land, in its totality. And so that's when we're using the term constitutional republic, just know that a republic is governed by law. When you're talking about democracy, it's governed by really the majority sentiment on any given matter. And so there is actually no objectivity at all. When you talk about an oligarchy, it's ruled by the opinion of a few. You talk about a monarchy, a dictatorship, it's the opinion of one. So that's just really important that people understand when we're using this term constitutional republic, why the Supreme Court should be in a position to do what it does, why it should make these rulings so that the Constitution does in fact stay valid. You're not invalidating the Constitution and setting precedent, as Samson was saying, of like, we're going to do this for that person, we're going to do this for that person. Just look through history. What happens when nations begin to do that?
Well, and every legal case is argued on the back of precedent of like, hey, here's a case where this happened and X, Y, and Z outcome was ruled. Yeah. So they're just protecting against that. So it's a good thing.
What's interesting is some of these reactions. I don't know about the time we have on to go through them, but there's a very interesting reaction from Joy Reid, and then there was an exchange between Justice Sotomayor and one of the lawyers from the Trump team. That's very interesting. I think they're both over a minute, so I don't know how we feel about time this morning, but with you guys. But let's just check out Joy Reid's reaction.
Yeah, just one.
So they repeatedly talk about bold and decisive action.
Yeah.
Well, what bold and decisive action do they have in mind? Probably the exact same bold and decisive action the Heritage Foundation has in mind. Heritage Action has in mind. Leonard Leo has in mind. Steve Bannon has in mind. And what I think they're saying to the American people is that if this Leonard Leo 6, get our preferred president back, we are going to encourage him to break the boundaries of the law, to push it to the limit, to feel free to even use violence, to use mass incarceration. Go ahead and do those camps. Do whatever you need to do to take the bold and decisive action that we repeatedly have said is necessary for the function of the presidency to get the agenda done. And we'll protect you and we'll let you know, Donald Trump, when you've gone too far. And only then will you be stopped. This is a clarion call to every American. By the way, that debate is like 34 felony counts old, and it does not matter anymore. All that matters is that you do not allow the person back into office who will use this power that he's been given by this court, this imperial court, to implement that agenda they wrote down and published because they know that no one will stop them except voters. It doesn't matter if Biden is old. It don't matter. It don't matter if he's old. What matters is that the other guy wants to be a king, and this court has said, yes, you are a king, and we are the king's hand, and together, the 7 of us will rule this country.
See, man, like, guys.
The Supreme Court justices are fairly balanced, right? Between there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them that are very democratic liberal.
Yes. But even then, they've demonstrated the ability to find congruence in making decisions.
Well, in the ballot case, they ruled 9-0.
Right.
So they were all in favor of overturning the rule.
See, this is what's so dangerous, guys, as business people, as citizens of this nation. This fear mongering, as people call it, this constant. He's going to be a king. He's going to It's so insulting to you and us and you as American citizens that this is going to happen, this extreme outcome, and we're not going to do anything about it. Right. We're not going to have any say in it. Like, it's so insulting to our intelligence and our position as people who actually are part of this republic. And I don't know, man. It's funny how they move on from Joe Biden's condition in the debate. Just 48 days later, now she has the audacity to say, it doesn't matter that he's old. We just don't want this man in the White House. That's the stupidest thing I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this offline, but they're trying to detract from what just happened during
it's just like
the debate, right?
How insulting that first of all, she just said, don't use your own common sense. Don't make your own rational decisions on who would be a better leader for this nation. Just trust us. That this is what you need to do. That's just ridiculous, man. Like, and
that's the truth of the matter is you have a select group of people who are trying to push this narrative. Yeah. The tell will come at the voting ballot box this year. And so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because I think most people are fed up with that narrative that they're being fed, and they just they know that, and they do not want this person to even have a chance at being on the ballot and getting voted in, because then the game's over.
Yeah. And if you think that the United States, that this government we have in place, even though it's struggling and seems to be in a really bad position, you're telling me that you legitimately believe this man is going to be a quote unquote king, and they're going to be the king's hand, disregarding the other people involved, the Congress, disregarding them, and disregarding the American citizen. Like, this is what you're telling us. And so this is just it's just nonsense that they're continuing to feed at us. And we just have to have the courage to stay patient, not react to the drama, not get caught up in our emotions, not fall prey to people insulting your intelligence, telling you not to think rationally anymore. Just vote for this guy anyways, even though he's going to die on the next day. He's putting his hand on the scriptures at the inauguration. Don't do that. Go for, don't pay attention to any of that. Just don't vote for Trump.
Yeah.
So anyways,